For 9 years, Double Dagger was a vital part of the Baltimore music and arts underground. In 2011, they decided to call it quits. This is their final tour.
You in the front, Denny?
Huh?
Are you in the front?
Yeah.
So what's he getting?
He's gonna have to stop the sheets.
Take that after the show, man.
Are you eating?
Yeah.
It's tour.
Favorite show you played?
Ever?
Doesn't say. I'm gonna amend the wording of this one, and we can make a list. What are our favorite places to eat when we're on tour? Oh, the grease trucks in New Brunswick.
Oh, man.
What? We've eaten there so many times.
That's funny.
Did we go anywhere in Europe that was particularly awesome?
Food?
Yeah.
We ate those wursts in Vienna, remember?
Oh, right.
Currywursts.
Yeah, like when me and Denny got the currywurst.
Vienna.
Next question is, are you psyched, like, for the end, / scared, / sad, / nervous?
In the summer of 2000, Bruce and Nolan would form their first band, League of Death, at the Maryland Institute College of Art. They wanted to start a metal band because it, quote, seemed like it would be fun and funny. League of Death was an acquired taste. You had to be there type band. In fact, it was an era of you had to be there type bands in Baltimore.
Like the Baltimore music scene back then really celebrated the absurd and unpredictability. Bands like the Oxes, they became like really well known for having these like two like wireless guitars, and they would like walk around in the audience, like break down the barrier between the performers and the audience. And Ben Vallis, he would have these bands that weren't necessarily bands in the traditional sense. I just remember like things like that were happening in Baltimore, and it was really like exciting and fun, and it I guess like opened me up to like the performance aspect can be something that's like totally unconventional, but is still like within the realm of like what a band can be.
At the same time, Denny was graduating high school but had become a presence in the Baltimore music scene with his band Economist, later to be known as Yukon. Soon after League of Death came to an end in 2001, Bruce then approached Nolan in the Micah mailroom, asking if he wanted to start a punk concept band that sings songs about graphic design. He said yes.
One of the early songs like that was really popular is called CMYK. For the non-nerds, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. That's like how magazines are printed, that's like how movie posters are printed. And that song was just basically saying, it's not hard to see that you're just made up of all of like these little dots like that are imitating the real thing.
Seeking an outlet to bitch about their jobs as graphic designers, Double Dagger pioneered a new subgenre of music, graphic design core. In these sophomoric recordings, Double Dagger made punk that rebelled against commercialism. They played with such subjects as keyboard functions, software, and trending modernity.
What a brave new world. So afraid to talk face to face. So we sit miles apart in these rooms in the dark, talking to blue screens.
They even wrote a song inspired by a font, Clarendon.
When I see those curves, yeah, I get weak in the knees.
They did what came naturally. There was a concept, an awareness to their performance that made it more meta, in a good way.
You're always getting picked on. You say that you've been used up. You say that you should be long gone.
Growing up, I always just wanted to get involved in music. You know, going to like, you know, high school punk shows. There's a place called 10 Car Pile Up in Towson, and like setting up shows there. You know, going to church shows, VFW shows. And then by the time I was in high school, you know, finding out about like the, you know, the scene here, as it were, and going to shows at the old Auto Bar, the old Talking Head. You know, I saw Double Dagger there, you know, a few times in high school, played with them, like Economist played shows with them, and we did the split 7-inch. Those guys were just really psyched on like young kids being into the underground scene.
In 2002, Baltimore was a vast wasteland. There was a mass exodus occurring, with some of our best and brightest creative types moving to cultural hubs like Williamsburg to worship the Strokes. During these dark times, Double Dagger formed and began performing. They were chaotic. They had different members. They were trying to find their sound. They sucked.
So, Charm City Art Space. In 2002, a bunch of us, you and I included, had decided it was time for a new DIY space in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, basically, all of the DIY spaces had been shut down by the police and the fire marshals.
It was daunting because of the fact that it was like, you're gonna have to pull up $500.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of what makes Baltimore a really interesting and powerful place is there's lots of interesting people and lots of cheap real estate.
These spaces, they exist because everyone who's part of it loves music. And part of how they show that love is by watching really crappy bands, like night after night. I don't even remember what our first show here was. And I'm not even really sure it matters which one it was because we played here so many times. And what's important about these volunteer-run, like these DIY spaces, is that they give bands like us a chance to suck and a chance to grow and a chance to stop sucking.
Without Charms to the Art Space, we wouldn't exist. Places like this can allow bands to figure out what the hell they're doing for as long as it takes. So thank you, Charms to the Art Space, for letting us figure that out years ago. And thanks for having us back. It's our second to last show in Baltimore. Oh, come on! How many did you see? You ungrateful pricks.
I wish I was in Baltimore. I swear to God, I don't want to be here anymore.
And by removing the industry side of things, where you got to draw a certain amount of people so that the bar does well, and if you don't draw those people immediately, well, you're not going to get booked again. You can actually grow something real, something authentic, and let people get up in front of a crowd of 15 people, 2/3 of which might have been other bands playing that night, and work on creating art as opposed to what's going to be the most crowd-pleasing thing.
You got a fuzzy face.
Yeah, funky face.
No, it's called fuzzy face. Which way do you think this goes? Like this? Or like this?
Yeah, like that.
Like that?
No, go put it the other way. Let's see the other way.
Put it the other way? Like the Pringles guy?
Audio.
I like driving through the Midwest because lots of guys like to comb my mustache and, there's lots of things I like to do with my penis, alongside my penis. My name's Known Straws and I'm a big creep. I like to have a pizza just ride my mustache for about 2-3 hours. 3 hours. It's like a burrito riding my mustache. I usually go into a taco shop and ask the burritos to ride my mustache. Maybe ride my sideburns too. Ride my sideburn pizza. He got himself a horse and buggy.
Devo was a very important band for me, and I listened to them all the time when I was a kid, even like up till now. I mean, my parents both were way into it, and they always had the records around and played them for me, and I just gravitated towards it immensely. I mean, probably because the songs were so simple, but more and more as I got older, you know, I'd figure out that, like, oh, there's like a philosophy behind everything, and it was really cool that they had like a message, and it was out there, and how, like, finding out how it was weirding out people when they were coming out, and like, this is the band I was, you know, kind of band, like, no wonder I gravitated towards it, because it all made sense to me early on.
I felt like it was a little faster anyway.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's weird. It's like it's gonna take on a different feel, I think.
I don't remember when it was, but I remember, no offense to Brian Dubin, the old drummer, but they sucked. They weren't the sum of their parts. Do you know what I mean? And then I saw them like a couple of months later when Denny was the drummer, and I didn't even recognize it as the same band.
Someone mentioned to us, oh yeah, you know, Denny plays drums. You should see if he wants to like play drums with you guys sometime. He comes to practice and he basically just like plays all the songs perfectly, like by the second run through of each one. Denny is just like plays incredibly loudly and very precisely, and he had this like monster ride, like 22-inch ride cymbal that he was using as a crash. I remember being in like the band practice space, and like you could like almost like certain parts like not really hear what I was playing, even though we were like using like 2 big bass amps. And so I remember at the time being like, shit, I think I might need to like get a louder amp or something.
Denny Bowen is a total goofball. I remember having a dispute years ago about drummers with our buddy Dan Deacon, and I was actually, I think I was on somebody else's side, and he's like, no, Denny's the one. And I'd only known Denny for a bit, and he's like, Denny is a clock.
Let's get her, they're all going in circles.
It seems so respectful.
Oh my God. They keep looking at me. So like I'm going to hurt them. You just be standing here doing this. Christ.
Playing with Bruce a lot, I think, was one of the best things for me as a musician. Like I said, was talking about like thinking about music visually, or like looking at music differently. We don't need to do this. We don't need to have all this stuff. You know, like Bruce was really timid about even just adding a delay pedal to the setup. You know, like same thing. Like I added a tambourine. I'm like, whoa, is this too much?
It's minimalist in its instrumentation, but it's certainly maximalist in its usage of those instruments. There's no like minimalist nature. They're trying to get as much sound out of that bass and out of that drum kit and out of that singer as possible without really adding on to that.
I kind of noticed listening to all of these bands that I liked that the instrument, the bass, was kind of forming the core of the song, or really like what was driving it musically. I just like found that really fascinating, and it's like pretty true. There's a lot of pop and rock music that the bass is really what is defining a song or a band. So when Nolan and I were talking about starting Double Dagger, that was kind of the nascent idea.
The amount of sounds that Bruce can get out of one bass guitar is crazy, and I don't think another band would have. I think it takes like a crazy nerd like Bruce to be like, no, we don't need another member. We can do this with just the bass.
He sounds like a bass player and a guitar player at the same time somehow, through some kind of weird Bruce magic that no one's ever been able to explain, or that he won't admit to. It's probably some kind of weird voodoo.
Kind of voodoo.
It's probably, he does come from New Mexico.
Voodoo.
Yeah, it could be some voodoo.
Bruce is just like a monster with the bass, and Denny beats the shit out of the drums.
The minimalist style I enjoy a lot with their music. And also Denny's drumming, that pounding, it just complements what Bruce does entirely. Actually, it just drives the songs. Those two just can hold a song down like it's nothing, a good tight rhythm.
It's about density of sound, but it's a very different density of sound. It's about like, you hear the differences, you hear the layers. It's not noise music, but it's super noisy. And like you said, it's not art school music, but it's certainly not just hardcore.
Kids love this sort of shit.
Kids like Denny Bowen.
It's a clown. It's like Double Dagger the clown. This is my new career. You want a clown? You need a clown?
Denny a clown. Call Denny Bowen. Oh, it's about to get nasty under here. Find out the real meaning of Double Dagger. Come here.
Nice to be here.
Let me start with
Yeah, and that matters.
Are we gonna use this at some show?
Demographers may care a little more about
I think so.
reach.
Yeah. Probably tomorrow.
People who are trying to sell things care about numbers.
give me a sense of how
See what it's like in there tonight, baby.
In 2007, with the permanent addition of Denny Bowen on drums, the group produced their first proper full-length, Ragged Rubble. Ragged Rubble is aptly named. It was written over the course of several years with various sex members. Though it lacks cohesion, songs like The Psychic and Luxury Condos for the Poor became rallying cries for a burgeoning movement in the Baltimore underground.
I hate the idea that, like, here's the band, and we're way over here, and here's the audience, and we're way back here. I don't go to shows to not have a good time. And so I want not only like to acknowledge the presence of the audience member, because without them, it's not a show, it's just practice. But I also just want it like to be fun, and maybe the words connect more if I am in some person's face and literally like spitting the words on them. That obviously makes the show, but I think it makes the music more than it would be if, like, there's Bruce, like, there's Denny, here's me.
When I play drums, like, while no one's out there, you know, doing all that shit, it feels purposeful and sincere, and like, I should be doing this. Like, he's gonna feel it the fuck all over the room for the next 30 minutes.
Like, there's no difference between him and Rollins. Like, there's no difference between him and that sort of front man. Like, if you saw those two guys walking on the street, you would be like, yeah, that. You'd look at a person. I guess that's a really good comparison of people. Like, see like a Henry Rollins, and you're like, oh, that guy would probably kick my fucking ass. And you see a person like Nolan, and be like, I'm gonna rob that motherfucker. Like, there's a totally different person there. But when they get on stage, there's no fucking difference at all.
A frontman that's so willing to throw himself into his audience and, you know, into the songs is hard not to love. You know, he gets down on the floor and he uses the mic cord to actually corral people and to manipulate people and to pull people in. And then he just goes around and addresses people on an individual basis while he's singing. And, you know, he cuts through all of the bullshit and all of the pretension by jumping off the stage in the first place that most bands never even get to.
When I take these off, I can't see at all. I don't know if this effect will work on your camera, but I'm like really blind, and there's something like that's really liberating when you can't see, like when you can sort of see, but like I don't have to be as scared of what people's like the expression on their face is, because I can't see it, so I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Cool. I'm glad Denny's zipped up his bag.
I love stairs. Carrying shit upstairs rules. It's gonna be a good one tonight. Out of shape band. You see wiry guys carrying huge amps over their heads.
Nolan's gonna huff and puff.
I am not gonna huff and puff.
I like how we know we've never once thought about using smaller amps or less amps. Still think we could use about 4 or 5 more.
I think the first time I came across or was introduced to Bruce and Nolan, they were like the art school kids that came into the store. When they started out, their stuff was, I think that the tag that was labeled on them was graphic design core, and obviously they've branched out a lot more, both musically and lyrically since then. I think they have a distinct sort of point of view that a lot of bands seem to either aren't interested in having, or I guess don't really care about.
Nolan's like a politician, I think, right? Yeah, like he's like a politician.
What makes you?
Because he's got an agenda, and I think he has something to say, and then you give him this format, and then he gets out there, and then he tells you what he thinks, and then he also tells you kind of what you could do. So he's like better than a politician because he actually kind of has a plan.
The really good bands weren't just like so vapid. The bands had a personality and they had a point of view. And I think most bands now don't have a personality, they have a haircut. And they don't have a point of view, they have a publicist. I'm happy as hell you could never say that about Double Dagger.
They saw the band as like the word product is going to add a lot of like consumer connotations, but they saw it as an entity of something that had to be detailed. It wasn't just instruments and songs. It wasn't like personas or anything like that, but there was an image to it. And it wasn't like the idea when you think of an image like Michael Jackson or something like that, you know what I mean? But it was just detailed. Every aspect of it was important, down to like, you know, the orange tape or the camo and the way things were presented and the way the flyers were, the way the merch table was laid out was always like, what did you guys like workshop this merch table? Like, how does this look so much better than my merch right next to yours? This doesn't make any sense.
There's not a lot of really crazy stories when it comes to printing, other than like, oh, that time I blew chemicals into my eye in the back spray, or like that week my hands were dried out from all the chemicals I handled because I printed like 4 posters that week. But we screen printed the covers for Ragged Rubble, and that was like 3 colors on the front and 1 color on the back, so that was a time-consuming beast of a print. But
Plus the insert.
Oh, and the insert.
So there's over 1,500 prints.
Yeah, for that
That are
record.
pulls.
So when you think about it, the amount we charged for it was a steal.
But if they were full-time musicians, the band wouldn't sound like Double Dagger. I don't think Double Dagger sounded like Double Dagger because it was 3 like musician dudes. You know, they're coming from a different place, which made it really unique. They're just both extremely gifted and like talented, and they have another, you know, outlet and art form that they spend a lot of time on, which they deserve to because they're really, really good at that.
When I went to Micah, I knew I wanted to learn how to screen print because I just thought that show posters were really cool because it was sort of this way that I quickly got injected like more deeply like to the music scene here, and then I wasn't just like that kid who goes to shows, but that I was more of an active participant. And most of these I was making when I didn't know how to use a computer. So most of these were done with a photocopier, Rubylith, and like just pen and pencil and some scissors and some tape. Well, one thing I'd learned from punk rock is like that's all you need. You can make art with whatever you have like just on hand, and it doesn't have to be professional and slick. The first poster Bruce and I ever collaborated on was League of Death. Our first band was opening for Les Shock, and then we just hand drew this type, and obviously we hadn't been hand drawing type for very long. But this was the first time that we collaborated, and then a little while later we were opening like for Airborne Radar, which is a band that we really loved.
So this poster kind of represents the conception, if you will, of post-typography. I think we'd been like looking through a newspaper in the mailroom, and we stumbled across this like classic photo of the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. And we decided we were going to cut the Beatles' heads off and replace them with some big penises, which you see here.
So we snuck on to my boss's computer and downloaded all these boners like from gay porn sites. And we were really careful to make sure that the boner was like, that it was turned so like that it matched each of the Beatles' heads because, you know, it needs to look believable.
It just seemed kind of ridiculous to us, and just the idea of this almost like avant-garde design movement that was sort of inspired by semen littering. And ultimately, post-typography became the sort of pseudonym for Nolan's and my collaborations, and now our successful graphic design business.
It was just just good sort of mesh of our personalities, because we both are very serious, but we both also really love like the absurd.
Bring me down just a hair, Thanks. Just a hair. And there goes Denny. I thought we were gonna start. You have to wait.
Whoa, I'm not ready either.
Oh.
You always. This is why we're breaking up, because Nolan's always like. He's always like, all right, we're ready to go. And I'm like, hey, I just haven't even plugged in my guitar.
Well, you know. John Del Zoppo says to do a short delay on my vocals, which is probably good considering my voice is really flat right now. A 30 millisecond, according to Mr. Del Zoppo. 30 millisecond. Thanks, John. Ready?
Almost.
Or real quick, I'll say thanks to John D, John G, and Paul for always setting us up here in Cleveland. We're Double Dagger from Baltimore, Maryland, and this is our last show in Cleveland.
Vibra's title, it translates to live without dead time. When I was a teenager, my friends and I were going to see Agent Orange in Augusta, Georgia. We were taking the highway in to downtown, and there was this long streak on the highway, and it stopped at this SUV. There was a man's body, and the red streak that was on the asphalt stopped at his head that had like been shaved off by being dragged. And it's still like one of the most gruesome things I've ever seen in my life. It was really like a transcendent experience.
I think that song was kind of the pinnacle of the like minimal approach to songwriting. There's one point where it changes, but otherwise there's one note that's played on the same beat through the entire song, and it's almost like this kind of heartbeat that's in the background.
No!
way we're gonna die tonight. There's no way we're gonna die tonight. If we shout loud enough, they can't turn out the lights. If we shout loud enough, they can't turn out the lights.
When you get down to it, what that song is about is, for years, I would walk down the street and like every single car that would come at me, I would picture how it would jump the curb and kill me. And then we wrote the song and I wrote those words and I didn't have those thoughts anymore after we recorded the song.
I think now, like, their new songs are, like, you know, more personal. I think and back then with my old band and Double Dagger at that time period, which would be before, I think before Denny was in it, we were younger and didn't talk about our personal lives or anything like that. And then as we got older, I think that, like, those things became more important, and then what everybody else was doing around us became less important. It became less important to me whether if somebody wanted to go, like, you know, two girls wanted to do a bunch of blow and lick each other's pussy on the pool table or the auto bar, and I cared more about, like, myself and, like, my relationships with people and my pussy-licking drug problem.
You might, if you're also as old as us, you might want to limber hug.
Even if you're not, it'll feel great. Get healthy, active, fit.
Sorry. If you're as old as me, Denny wants you to know he's still his spring chicken.
That goes out to the ladies.
What's that? Ben Walton with your fucking backpack and your blog that's about how cool your legs look. Seriously, thosegams.tumblr.com, something like that.
Why don't I stutter when we perform? I have no idea. Bruce and I, we teach a class, and I stutter all the time. And that's just this small audience of like 16 or 17 kids. But, well, and those kids want to be there and they want to hear what I have to say to them. But when I'm like just on the floor or like when I'm on the stage, I don't know that everybody there wants to hear what I have to say. So you'd think that would be the context where I would stutter, but for some reason, when I have the microphone, it just stops.
Take showers at Nolan's house after the show.
It's something I struggle with, and like I struggle with daily, and since Double Dagger is the one place that I don't do that, I think it made sense to have a song about it.
Oh no, don't let him answer the phone. He'll take so long to get to hello. They'll think
it's what I think other people, like, what they're thinking. Like, that they're thinking we shouldn't let him talk, like, to our kids because we don't want them to pick up that habit. Or what the fuck is happening, like, to his neck. And, like, he's tensing up and, like, he's making that, like, that croak sound and, like, that face that looks like he's having a stroke, and he's just, and he's just trying to say pizza.
You've got so much to say, you got so much to say, but I don't have all day, so could you just spit it out? You got so much to say when you're up on that stage, but when we're face to face, you just can't get it out. What's that sound coming out of your throat? It's like some horrible, wounded animal choke. I don't think it's like what's happening to your face. It's like there's something seriously wrong with your brain. No, let him answer the phone. I don't think we should let him talk to our kids.
We don't want him to turn out like him.
So what would you want on the vinyl?
Probably all 3 ways.
Yeah, let's look at like all 3 of them, and you said you have about 70 of those.
60 or 70, yeah. So I've got 10 gimps in here, which is good. All stuck in that box for so long.
Like haven't had these for over a year.
God. I'm not gonna go crazy, but
10
it
wolves.
starts with the old shit's up here, and then all the newest
The
titles
newest
are
stuff's
here.
here.
And then we have stuff from the other labels. What are the other labels?
But that stuff is not, you cannot take it.
Then why
Come on, Nigel. Come on, dude, man.
We can't promo out there.
This should be 420.
Cool. I will print out a new one that's marked paid.
Oh, check this out, yeah. It's gonna be worthless pretty soon.
I guess so.
Right, you take this and you just put it on any record. So it just becomes Double Dagger release.
Bam! Yeah, look at that.
Oh shit!
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
I'll make a shit.
Just don't take the Double Dagger poster down. Leave it up. Dude, is that an original?
I don't know.
Yeah, pretty dated.
No, it's got a Double Dagger on the back.
For years. Oh, there
Look at that one. That one's all
Not an original. What the
Well, I guess they both are.
In 2009, what was once a vast wasteland had become a cornucopia of musical acts. A mob had formed. Double Dagger signed to Thrill Jockey Records, releasing their 3rd album, More. The album is the culmination, the product of years of hard work and determination not to suck so much. The energy of the record is intense and angry, but the effect is cathartic and unifying. The listener is not shaking their fist at Double Dagger. The listener is shaking their fist with Double Dagger.
No thanks, don't need your favors. Now sorry about this my place. No mistake, this was sour grapes. Disheartened, lying in my face. I'm about to give us something new. I'm about to just give us the truth. You only care about you and you and you and you and you. Dying to take you on an expiration date. Dying to play all those songs you hate. You can tell me all about the view from the top. Tell me about the view when it stops. And all those close calls you never got. How's it gonna sound when they don't pick up? Ring, ring, ring at your death now. And keep on burning bridges. Time will tell. No ally, no ally. Don't need you on our side. But with them in the party line, it's left with, to be left with. No ally! No ally! No ally! No ally! No ally! No ally! No allies! No allies!
I'm sure you will. And let me tell you one other thing. You call back there, and you'll be paying somebody else $450 like a lawyer. You should vote for me.
Yeah, like, we didn't play any shows, like, for 2 or 3 months, and now, like, we just, like, did 4 shows, and it's been kind of rough on the old pipes. But, yep, it's the last one. It's pretty weird. Did the gas stop? I think the gas stopped, and we're kind of running late, so. Okay, well, I will call you when I'm back in Baltimore. Will do, Mom. All right, I love you. Bye. Both my parents are preachers, and I don't think they're so into the distortion and like all the yelling and everything. That said, like, they always like have supported like whatever I do, like creatively. But I also think they're both probably a little glad that I'm moving on from being in a band. But yeah, I think the gas stopped for real this time, so.
The trio recorded the album More on the 5th floor of Current Gallery, an artist-run space in the heart of Baltimore. The studio was little more than trashed office space. They had no power, forced to run extension cords up the side of the building. They punched through walls and ripped through ceiling tiles. Their cars got towed, and they endured freezing temperatures. This was truly a labor of love.
Yeah, like where we recorded More, it was not, there's definitely like not a recording studio. It was essentially an abandoned building that happened to have Current Gallery essentially leasing this abandoned building from the city. And it's really cool, like being in a space that is this abandoned space and has this weird history and life behind it, and you're in this room and you're like, oh, this is probably someone's like crappy office with their crappy wallpaper, and they had their like photos of their kids and their like inspirational posters on the cubicle wall. 15 years later, or 20 years later, I don't know how long that space has been abandoned, here like 3 guys like playing this like insanely loud music that is like literally rattling all of the walls and the entire floor. It's not necessarily like a destruction of the past, but it's this layer on top of it that is like taking this thing and repurposing it into something new and beautiful in its own way.
Well, I'm born and bred in Baltimore, so Double Dagger, they actually like a lot of the songs, especially with the lyrics. I knew exactly what they were talking about because I didn't really grow up in many friendly neighborhoods. In my family, we were always very low in like the financial situation, so we always did things ourselves. We did our own stuff, our own like maintenance around the house and shit. A Dagger just like reeks of DIY. And then I can actually connect with that well.
Are you ready? This song is also about Baltimore. But it could be about anywhere.
Double Dagger is a Baltimore band, like however you slice it. Their whole aesthetic is about the city. I feel like it's all about the grittiness of a city and like the kind of feelings you have in a place like this, and that goes towards isolation and celebration, and just kind of looking at this landscape and saying, well, what is this?
Them getting out and getting attention, and all of a sudden the rest of the world paying attention, it gave rebirth to people being like, fuck yes, we're Baltimore. Like, fuck yes, I'm from Baltimore. Fuck yes, this is Maryland. Whereas before, Baltimore really had this pride issue where it was like, we're not DC, we're not New York.
Right.
And no one really gave a crap, and they're like, oh, you're a crappy little city. Whereas now it's like, oh yeah, DC, what bands do you have? Not to be an ass, but like, a lot of people are moving here now and getting involved, and part of that is them taking pride and people taking pride in who we are.
It feels like anything you want to do can be done here with the power of, you know, your friends and the right attitude, you know, and some hard work. In a lot of cities, I feel as though it's a struggle. It would be more of a struggle financially to find the space, to find the time, to find the people. And here, it seems like it's a great place to just realize the ideas that you have in a really supportive scene.
I think that Baltimore had like a really big influence on us as a band, and just like the kind of music that we made. And I mean, for us, I think more the album is really like a tribute to Baltimore itself, and how Baltimore, I think, meant it, or Baltimore does, like, it means a lot to us, like the three of us individually, like as people. Like I would say that like all three of us kind of became who we are creatively and as people because we live in Baltimore, and more in a way is like kind of this shout out to Baltimore City, and like a thank you to Baltimore, the community, Baltimore, the music scene, and Baltimore, the place.
The band's fourth album was Masks, an enigmatic EP. Nolan continues to yell at us, yet we find experimentation here. The EP flirted with a personal side of Double Dagger that had rarely been heard. It left fans intrigued and wondering, what could be next?
This song's sort of about the last 9 years. Away. But don't worry, that sounded all sad. Fuck being sad. This is fun as shit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're Double Dagger from Baltimore, Maryland.
Are there any that you hadn't really played in a while that, for the sake of the people who've come out to see you one last time, you've taken out of mothballs?
Yeah. There's a couple that we had to knock like several inches of dust off to play.
These are the songs that people, like our friends or something, would yell out at us as like a joke. We've like had our shows in the past like few years, and now we're like actually playing them.
When we chanted the start, like to Art School Girlfriend, like when I turned around, like there was this kid that was at the front just going, like it blew his mind.
Are you at all prepared for what Friday will be like? Have you thought?
We're a little scared, honestly.
Yeah, I'm really scared I'm gonna get really hurt.
By the crowd?
By the crowd. I'm scared like the teenage boys are gonna rip me into pieces. Because they know they're never gonna get to grab me again.
I'm afraid they're going to be grabbing really hard and like pulling shoulders out of sockets and shit.
Well, see, like the auto bar, they have all these signs that say like absolutely no stage diving. Someone's gonna fucking stage
There's
dive.
gonna be so much stage diving, it's gonna be ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like breaking lots of hearts that night when they throw kids out.
Yeah, half the kids are gonna be thrown out after like the second song because there's gonna be stage diving.
Well, I think that'll do it. We can get out of the bathroom now.
Actually, hold on a second, guys.
This is cool.
We'll get out. Bruce is gonna.
Yeah,
This is cool.
It's Friday night, and we're bored, and Pitchfork told me to come. That post-hardcore luminaries from Baltimore, Double Dagger, we're playing their last show tonight, and so we had to come.
'Cause smells so bad.
No, I totally do. I haven't showered in like 3 days.
You smell like chicken noodle soup.
Yeah, I told you. Your sweat always smells like chicken noodle soup.
Weird.
Yeah. Every time, like, we pick up the shirts, the sweaty shirts, especially after DC, I'm like, this is Nolan's. It smells like chicken noodle soup.
When I was vegan, my sweat smelled like raw beef.
Really?
Yeah, it was weird.
Oh god. Mine just smells like mildew. It sucks.
When I was vegan.
I gotta get plugged in and like tape some shit up. So here, you got 2 minutes.
2007, I moved into this unit, and I obviously was looking to practice here. That's Chris.
You gonna take that couch with you?
I'm not taking that couch. Hell no. That wasn't even mine to begin with. So this is where we used to practice. Hello? Is anyone? Okay. So this is where we used to practice for about 4 years. Now it's becoming someone's bedroom, which is a little bit different.
All right. We're Double Dagger from Baltimore, Maryland.
But as you can obviously see by this right here, that we used to practice here, and this poster I probably should take because it's one from when we played a show with Jesus Lizard at Sonar. 3 of these things on this poster don't exist anymore. That being Sonar, Jesus Lizard, and us. And this cupcake came from some Double Dagger show too. I don't know what. Did I leave anything back here? That's usually one of the first things I think about. Just pretty instinctive things, like where's the drum set, where are the amps? But I mean, it's been over a year since I've lived here, and almost a year since we stopped playing. You know, you start to have perspective and hindsight, and I'm starting to realize like more and more like where Bruce was coming from as like a songwriter and like a guitarist, and where Nolan was coming from as like a vocalist and a writer.
The quitters never win.
I guess I'm bummed that like I'm not going to be able to like work with them in a musical capacity in that setup.
Well, they sure weren't. In the situation that I'm in.
I don't think the breakup was premature. I think if we'd kept going, it just would have, I think it would have lost something. No matter how much you love art, whatever sort of form it takes, like it needs to change. I don't think we had reached the limit of ideas for what we could have done. I just think we maybe reached the limit of what we could have done, and us all three still liked it.
You know what, I'm going to give Double Dagger credit on this one.
No, I would like some credit.
Stop for a second. I have something corny to say. Let me just have my corny moment. I'm now 34 years old. I have done an awful lot, but until this past year, I never did a band. And one of the greatest inspirations for me was watching my friends start out playing to 10 people at the art space and grow to a point where they sold out the auto bar with lots more people trying to get in the door, kids flying all over the stage and talking about things that were relevant to all of us, and doing it in a mature way that didn't just evolve into like, I'm angry at the man. You know, you talk about Luxury Condos as a song.
But you're okay with the fact that you will never be as good as Nolan?
No, I absolutely.
Okay, cool.
It's all right to be a shitty artist, but still be inspired by great ones.
One of the best contributions I think Double Dagger made to the scene in Baltimore was giving a lot of really young kids a place to come and see live music performed in the truest, most punk rock way. And I think when a 13, 14-year-old kid sees that, they are definitely going to do what they can to go out and start a band.
Sitting in that position and looking, you know, and seeing Bruce, you know, like right close by, and seeing Nolan like way out on top of people, and knowing I wouldn't see that again from that perspective was like kind of crazy. Because it's such like a comforting thing in a way to see, for me, to see your singer just leave stage and not know where he is, but just hear his voice, you know, blasting through the PA.
I don't know. I mean, the night that I decided to stay in Baltimore actually was the final Double Dagger show at the Auto Bar. I crowd surfed a few times, and you know, I've never seen the Auto Bar packed like that and moved that way, as almost like a collective unit. There wasn't a single place in that building you could stand and not be a part of the, you know, the crowd.
making us a ghost town. We've been flipped so much that up looks down. They're not building a city. They're building a ghost town. We're building a city. All of us, through what we do, through what we make.
Good night. Go home. Start your own band.
October 21st, 2011. They played their last show at the Auto Bar in their home city of Baltimore, Maryland. Exactly 9 years and 2 months from the date of their very first show. Double Dagger is dead, but should that even matter? Hey man. Whew. Warm in here.
Oh yeah.